All right. You like that, huh? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our show. I am your host, Iskra Perez, and my co-host on this side. um,
Hey everybody, how you doing? Riquet Caballero, Cuban Libertarian in the house. Welcome to another edition of Somos Más English.
yes, and we have two very, very special guests with us tonight, Riquet. You know, you actually introduced me to them. You found them on, I don't know where you found them. I think either on Facebook or YouTube. Where did you find
That's
them?
right. They made a very moving video on Facebook
Yeah.
regarding the San Isidro movement, and
Yeah.
I fell in love. So I had to, show
Yeah.
everybody.
So I'm gonna just go ahead and bring them in because I think they want to be part of this party. Hi, ladies.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having us.
There seems to be a little bit of a feedback
On your mic. Are you guys using Bluetooth or
We're using the Bluetooth, but it should work.
yeah, those are AirPods. I don't know why, but it's coming in garbled.
Yeah, somebody is not, and I know I was okay because I was just
Hold on,
yeah.
let me mute myself maybe.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Can you ladies hear us now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Okay.
Perfect. Perfect. It works.
It works. Okay. So,
Yes.
Ladies, thank you for accepting our invitation. First of all, thank you for your wonderful music. I actually started this video with a Somos Más introduction because it's part of what we do. But I really wanted to go into your website and do a little bit of a video clip from your new album, which is awesome. If you guys don't mind, do you mind sharing that with our audience?
Of course.
Oh,
Of course.
Okay. So that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and go in here and because I think it's just so beautiful, and I'm going to try and see and let me see. Let me share screen. And then I got to do this and bear with me because today I kind of learned all this new technology. And I'm hoping there it is. Yes.
Hey.
Okay.
Iya chao amichala micha, iya chao amichala micha, miya de ora miya amichala micha, amichala micha, amichala micha. Iya chao amichala micha, iya chao amichala micha, miya de ora miya amichala micha, amichala micha, amichala micha.
Well, it's people is surprised for when they can see the whole video. Let's just leave them with wanting to go back and listen to it.
Wow. So that, I mean, wow. When I heard that just took my breath away. It really mixed everything about our culture. I love jazz as it is, and I love our African background. I was I was born in Cuba, but I came when I was 9 years old to the United States. But I've always loved our African backgrounds, and you guys have put that fusion of those two things that I love in music together, and I just felt
Also, there is the resemblance of our Spanish background too, because the Guajiras come from the Spanish side of our heritage as well. So we're trying to blend all of that from our African side and our Spanish side, because in Cuba we have a little bit of everything.
Let me ask you something. You mixed African rhythms with something else, like is that a son montuno? I'm not sure.
That's a Guajira, which is a Guajira, eastern side of Cuba. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
So which one is Elizabeth?
I am Elizabeth.
Okay. So you were born in Havana, and you are the violinist.
Yes, I am, and I was born in Havana.
What part of Havana?
That's a funny.
That was coming.
Laughing because she never lets me forget where I come from, because I was born in one of those neighborhoods that are not the finest neighborhoods. So I was born in Los Sitios, and every time we perform, she introduces me like, I'm from Los Sitios.
Yeah.
Well, Regla, so hey, we're even,
We're in here like they're from Havana and from Vedado. Yes, right.
Yeah.
I worked my way up there, and then I end up having an apartment in Vedado. Okay.
Yeah. Good for you. So Magdelis, you are from Santiago de Cuba, where I mean, that's where music is at its best, right? I mean, we always hear about Havana, but people don't know the history of Santiago de Cuba and the music. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. Ooh. And we had during Spoleto week, we have here in Charleston, we have a Spoleto festival, and once a year. This past year we didn't do it because of COVID, but once a year we have a Spoleto week, and they always bring a Cuban group or a Cuban artist to perform. And one time they brought the Turquillo from Santiago. Yes. And they brought oh my God, el grupo the danza. Oh, and it's gonna come to me.
It's a Kutumba, folklórico Kutumba, or folklórico Oriente.
No, they're from Havana. They're from Havana. Very, very famous. I'll find it now. But anyway, we went to their show. My husband waited for them after we're like, this is who we are. We're Cubans. We waited for them until they left, till they came out of their show, and we invited, all of them to our home the next day. And they're like, but we don't fit anywhere. We're like too many people. It's a whole group and a whole group of dancers and a whole group of musicians. And we're like, well, yeah, we'll get you here. So we rented a van and we brought them over, and they had a wonderful time in our house. So
that's nice.
Yes. So just the reason for this interview is because your Facebook Live, you spoke about San Isidro, and we're here. The reason why we started these English, debates and these English Facebook Lives is because, as you know, there are many Facebook Lives, but all in Spanish, mostly about what is happening in Cuba. But we need to spread the word about what's happening in Cuba to not just the Cubans, but to everyone. You're in Canada and we're in the U.S. And just like you said in your own, in your video, you said, Cuba is not just about tourism and beautiful beaches, because we do have some of the best beaches and some of the most beautiful palms in the world. But it's not just about that. Unfortunately, there is a whole world that the tourist does not see. And so this is why we're doing this type of, a program, so that people can actually understand the reality of Cuba. And, the Cuban regime has done a very good job at doing good propaganda, at, putting their best face to the world. And we need to start doing good propaganda at showing them what the truth really is. Yeah. And, I'm very proud of our young adults, and especially our artists. I'm so glad that this has come out of the artist side of our young people that have decided to speak up and say, enough is enough. You're breaking our, not just forget about, this is not about communism or democracy. This is our human rights. We have the right to speak up. We have the right of movement. They're, keeping them inside jails or keeping them even inside their homes and not letting them go out. That is a human right that they are breaking, that the government is breaking. And we want the world to know that this is happening in our country.
Exactly.
And we are so proud of people like yourselves, because you're so young and you're speaking up about it. So I'm going to stop speaking now. Because I can go on forever, but I'm going to turn the microphone over to you girls. And I want you to tell the world how you feel, number one, because I know a lot of people don't understand what's happening and why it's happening. And number two, how you feel about what's happening. Please.
So thank you so much for the invitation once again. My name is Elizabeth Rodriguez, for the ones that are joining us now, and we have a band named OKAN. We live in Toronto, Canada right now. We immigrated to Toronto in different years. We actually met here. I've been outside of Cuba since 2013, Max since 2014. And the most important thing here is that people understand that the situation in Cuba, even for every Cuban that lives in a different part of Cuba, is different. I'm saying this because since you mentioned that I'm from Havana, Mags is from, we call her Mags. Max is from Santiago. Our experiences in Cuba are actually completely different just because of that fact. The fact that she had to immigrate to Havana and become
an immigrant.
an immigrant, but also the
country. Yes.
legal in Havana. We were talking about this yesterday with some friends. The fact that we have had this feeling of freedom in every single step. Like for us, for me, was when I received my green card, because I lived in the States for a certain time. So when I received my first green card, I was like, oh my God, like I'm legal, like I can do these things and I can take on the world. For Max, started in Cuba, when she had her first carnet identidad with the address from Havana. So just the fact that in a country things like that happen, like the fact that just being born in certain place, no one can imagine in the United States or in Canada or any other place that you're born in a city that is not the capital and you cannot go to your capital and make your way or work or do anything. Like you were illegal. So in a country when things like that happen, you cannot even start to just the conversation to think about anything, a future or absolutely anything, when you have no right to be in the place that you were born. So they deny you rights right there at the very beginning. Basic rights. And the fact that they hide the truth. My experiences as an immigrant was actually a little bit different than Mag's as well, because I remember wanting to travel the world and go back to Cuba. I wanted to make money and go back to Cuba. And then I got here and I started reading and I started watching videos about the real Cuba and getting all of this information that, of course, Cubans don't have there. Back then, also, there wasn't internet like there is right now. And I remember being like shocked, because I always knew that there was things that it was something wrong and there were horrible things happening and I was fighting and I was already like getting in trouble with certain people. But actually knowing the truth and realizing that they hide absolutely everything from us in plain sight, it felt so horrible. And I felt betrayed, and I felt that I couldn't go back to a place where all those things happen. So San Isidro is the last, I would say, this is the last hope that Cubans just got in a long, long time. For a long time, there hasn't been anyone in that country that will step up and say, you know what, I'm taking the risk. Because a lot of people have been doing that. Like, for example, Los Aldeanos and like all of us somehow, like the reason why Magdalis has a refugee status in Canada is because she fought in Cuba too, and she got in trouble while she was at INTA. She can tell that story very soon. But at some point, they make you leave. They make you, and it's not that you don't care. It's just that you know what, I cannot fight this, because you cannot trust anyone around you, or you don't know how you're going to do this. So the fact that a group of people, a different group of people, got together and started thinking of how are we going to do this? Let's use internet and show the world how peacefully we are actually just showing the truth about Cuba without us having to do actually nothing. Right. Because they haven't done anything. They're just sitting at home, and they were peacefully in a house doing absolutely no threat. There was no threat to anybody. And the government showed the entire like wrath that they have, like just taking them out of there with that, so ferocious. So they show their face, and that group of people deserve our support and our help.
Yes. It doesn't mean that no one else have been done this fight before in Cuba. I mean, for years, we have UNPACU, we have Damas de Blanco, like we have so many organizations that actually fight. They've been fighting for years. Joanny Sanchez, like so many others, and artists who like at the end of the day, they just left, and they just moved to the States, Spain, or here in Canada. And it's very sad that you have to leave your hometown, you have to leave your home country, because you cannot, there's a point where you cannot get any more beaten up. You know what I mean? Like there's a day, like you've been getting beaten up every single day, every time you walk on the street with your signs saying like down with the Castros, and then people come right at you, but that you know that these people are not the regular your neighbors. Like that these people are just people from the police and from the government dressed up as civilians.
Yeah, so we actually have another situation where right after San Isidro, what happened after San Isidro, where they went in, a young man, also in another part of Cuba, in Havana, I believe, he had a sign up saying, and now they are accusing him of terrorism.
Oh yeah, of course, because it goes against everything they think of old people.
I don't know where else in the world you would get accused of terrorism for putting up a sign that says, we want to be free.
Yeah, well, it happens. It happens.
China, Iran, North Korea.
Yeah, exactly all of those countries, and all of those countries are friends with Cuba. So,
and then they try to tell the world that they are not communist. And one of my biggest concern, as an American citizen and as a mother of young children, because I see you girls as my daughters. Like you could possibly, my oldest daughter is 30 years old, so I'm sure my daughters. And one of my biggest concern is that little by little socialism and communism is penetrating in different parts of the world, including the United States. And I know people are saying, you Cubans are crazy. We've been talking about this for over a year, but all we get back is this is never going to happen here in the United States, and you Cubans are crazy. How do you feel about
it? It is important to note, guys, it is important to note that socialism and communism is not the same. And it's also important to look at countries like Finland, Denmark, Canada, that has some social parts of the government that are related to this, socialists, because it's important. This is a conversation that I always want to have with Americans, with Cuban Americans, that say socialism. And I'm like, guys, it is not the same. And it's also... it's important to know how it works in other countries. I am not saying that it's perfect, and I'm not saying that socialism it's perfect, and I'm not even getting there. But it's also important to know the difference in between those two. And it is important to realize that the United States and many countries should have programs, because they do have the money, should have programs that are, and in America have.
But the issue is we do have socialist programs. We have many programs that are for people that cannot afford certain things. And listen, I agree, and I am one of those people that fights for equal opportunities for women, and I fight for a lot of things, a lot. There's a lot of work to be done, but there's a fine line between, fighting for causes and becoming completely socialist. And that is where we
draw the line.
Take care.
You gotta look at it this way, in my opinion.
That's what we're trying to say all the time.
In order to have social programs, you need to produce Cuban dictatorship. You need to produce things in order to tax people. If you can't get blood from a stone
without producing, not like you want to do now,
or tax them without anything that they did not have. Like now, they this new laws that they want you to pay for. Like you didn't do anything. You didn't get me that job. Why do I have to pay you taxes off that job that you didn't get me?
Right.
Like, it's not gonna happen, and that happens to every musician. Like all of those musicians that you see outside of Cuba, actually, the
empresa, how do you say, like the agency
that is mandatory, by the way. You cannot be an independent artist.
There's no such
which
a thing.
is the problem. That
there's no such thing as an open or free agent, right?
No,
okay.
That doesn't exist. So if you want to travel, you have to go through the agency, and the agency takes 56% of your taxes,
if you're lucky,
of your income. Yes,
if you're
lucky, or
and now you have to pay another 4% according to the new laws.
The new laws, just they're saying that those are for Cubans that live in Cuba, but they go outside for conferences and like things that they go outside and get paid.
No, I read the law. I read the law. That's not what the law states.
Exactly. The woman at Mesa Redonda was the round table was saying that this is what is actually going to happen. And then, no, but that's not what the law says. What are you talking about?
I read the law. That is not what it's saying. The law stipulates that anyone that is a Cuban citizen, which means that if you go back to your country within the 24, months time period, and you keep your Cuban citizenship, and any money that you make outside of Cuba, you have to pay a 4% income tax on that money.
Well, you know what? I think the ladies will also, what is it now? Will pay for the electricity of their family in Cuba. Their electricity bill.
Pay utilities as well. So we are the gusanos or worms. So we are called many names.
Well, I was one of the first gusanos because I was a Margarita.
They don't want, the guy that they put in power doesn't want the name calling anymore.
Yes, he said like don't call them names anymore, because I think he knows that we need to pay those bills now. So
it's ridiculous. It's just
now they need to respect.
Problem here, and every single Cuban knows it. Even come on, if you are smart, you don't even need to be so bright. Everybody needs that. All they need to do is leave power. That's it. That's it. Nobody's talking about the states taking over Cuba. Nobody is talking about that. Oh, we should annex. They're talking about those colonial sort of words now, like annexionismo.
They're confusing us with Puerto Ricans. I think that's what it is. And we're super nationalist. We love Cuba and we want to be Cuban.
This is what so important.
Many good Cubans inside and outside of Cubans that are very intelligent and very willing and very able.
My dear,
yes,
it would take a long time, because the mind of Cubans are poisoned by suffer and anger and frustration and hunger and all these calamities that have been going on for so many years. So to get rid of those things, many years have to pass by, and we do have to learn a lot from all of. I wish all of the Cubans that live outside of Cuba, that we have learned how to live in different societies, we all could get together and share our experiences and the things that work from these kind of countries and the things that don't work, because you are all actually part of history too, because we are experimenting and taking risks. The people that left for a reason and wanted to try something else because that wasn't working for them. Those people also have something to say. They have to say that some things here work, some others don't work.
Right.
And we need to work for a better future in Cuba.
Right.
Yes.
And I believe there's look, that conversation is had in every country. Every country has things that work and things that don't work, and we need to work together. And as a society, we need to work together and make and come together to reform those things that work and those things that don't work. Now, I know I promised you ladies 1 hour, or you gave me 1 hour, and I don't want to take away from your time, but we have a lot of people on the chat that really really want to come in and talk to you guys and ask some questions. And I don't know, we still have a half hour, so I want to give our audience some time with you. Would that be okay with you?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Riquette, can you put on the go ahead and put on the link? We have a lot of people asking. Please, we want to talk to them. We want to be able to to interact with these beautiful ladies.
Link is up.
Link is up, everybody. So anybody that wants to come up can come and talk to the.
Because no one put him there but these guys. So no one know that Gobiernos Títeres back in history class, if I recall. So who's the títere now? Who's the puppet now? So things like that are happening. And the Cubans, I mean, I don't want to blame it on the Cubans in the island because they don't know any better. You know, we were one of them when we used to live there, and they don't know any better. They are afraid, and they are used to opening your mouth and getting the milk into their mouths, you know, getting recargas, getting money. They don't know anything
But that's
else.
why we need to work together.
Yes.
Like somebody just mentioned, say they are losing it because of the internet. So this is why the Cubans outside of Cuba are telling you, brother, this is the reality. This is how you can fix this. This is how I'm helping you. I want to help you get your own money, your own shoes, your own phone, your own recarga, your own whatever.
Your own shoes. You can get your own shoes.
So if everybody works together, the ones outside here talk to their families. No, they cannot put everybody in jail. It is important that everybody understands that the only reason why we're in this situation is because we haven't come together as a nation.
Yeah.
Not even the ones inside and not the ones outside, because at the end of the day, everybody's profiting from this. Because even all of us at some point have made up the mistake or the gloating of going back to Cuba and feeling better than the others because you have a car and you have money and you have this and you have that.
Broken.
Everybody at some point gloats. So don't gloat, because right now we're all, absolutely all of us are in this same issue. We're all in this same hole. So together we can get out, because as you can see, they're making us suffer. Even if you're in Cuba or if you're outside of Cuba. If you're in, you have to wait for somebody to send you money. If you're out, you have to send them money and work extra. So there's no win-win for anybody here.
Win-win.
Right.
Yeah. The only way we win is for them to leave.
Risque, what we don't find this girl earlier. They're pretty clear.
Well,
Where they were hiding.
and they have
But we don't understand that Cubans don't get together, and that is our biggest.
I know. It's a teamwork. It's a teamwork. We're getting close. We're getting close. We're getting close. I get confused with your name. What she was mentioning is that nobody had to be, or nobody had to feel, not necessarily helper, because what you do is little or a lot. It's a continuation of what all we do for the same subject.
Exactly.
That's what you do. Yeah. Follow the same thing, focus, and concentrate it to that. And if I got a chance to do a little, somebody has a chance to do a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
it's support. And when that getting concerned,
right. Yeah, I'm a big, honestly, San Isidro's movement, they're the real heroes in this story. There's no doubt about that. But we all, as Cubans, we all have a role to play. Every single one of us, and I've been saying this since the beginning.
And there are many others. There are many, many others that have been fighting, and they're also in jail. That's why the sons of the Damas de Blanco and all the people in the park.
We all have to a role to play in this, and we have to come together. Even if you do one post, even if you go into one of our programs and put a like and put a share and do one little thing every day. One thing you do is at least you've done something for Cuba.
Yep.
And it's so important that we have to keep in doing things, but don't thinking that tomorrow the dictatorship is gone. Some people, especially the youth, thinking that we start something and it's ending soon. No, we have to be resilient, resistant. Movimiento San Isidro, the Isidro movement, it's just the beginning of something.
Exactly.
It's just the beginning of something. Internet
to divert the attention now with all this craziness that they created.
About the money.
About
the
money,
exact same thing.
And the currency exchange and everything. So they're just trying to divert the attention from San Isidro problem, from the real Cuban problem towards this. So it's our job as Cubans outside to educate our communities. And even no matter the language, it could be English, could be Russian, like there are Cubans everywhere in the world. So in your language, you could just spread the word and say the truth about Cuba. Cuba is not just beaches, women, and rum. Yes, but we cannot even enjoy that. You know what I mean?
And I'll be honest, we as Cubans, we're very proud people, and and we don't like to talk bad about our country. And I noticed that. And when I would come back, I used to go every year with my husband. I don't have any family in Cuba, but my husband had his children there. And when I would come back, I would be proud, and I would put on the pretty pictures and all the pretty things about my country because we're proud. We're proud of who we are. But we also need to start saying the truth about our country, because just like I took pretty pictures, I also took pictures of the Havana that is falling apart, that is falling on top of people's heads. There were two little girls that were killed because of these buildings that are falling and crumbling up because the government does nothing about it. So we have to swallow our pride, because I know we're very proud. We have to swallow our pride and say the truth.
But look, it's like my mom says, like, I know you don't need to speak ill of your country if you don't want to. Yeah. It's just that in order to get fixed, you need to call the disease. So if you're sick, if you have cancer, you go to the doctor. The doctor tells you got cancer, so you got treated for it. If you got something in your leg, you get treated by it. You see that? Then start fixing the problem. You have to address the problem. Yeah. And the problem is that, and it's affecting not only us, but South America completely. Look at Venezuela now. It's pretty sad what's happening there. Yeah. And like that, it's that and government, it's a cancer.
Venezuela
in South
has
America.
Cuba written all over.
Yes.
That was Cuba who destroyed, like that. It is the real, just the show, like they did that to Cuba, right? And they hide it. They hid it from the world for a long time. Then they went to Venezuela and they got it. And look at Venezuelans. They lost 60 pounds. The average Venezuelan lost 60 pounds, just like the Cubans in the 90s. They are immigrating everywhere. They have, everybody's accepting Venezuelans as refugees right now. So that was Cuba. So white people cannot see that. People cannot understand that was Cuba's hand behind Venezuela. And every time I see Venezuela, I literally apologize to them when I say, I am so sorry for what my government has done to your country.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And
that's so true. The average size of height of the Cuban person has actually gone down in time, and you see the difference when the kids come here young, outside of Cuba, and you give them that Quaker oatmeal, boy, and they just go.
My
up
dear, I can show you
super
my
quick.
dog. I can show you my Cuban dog that we rescue a dog from Cuba, and it's supposed to be like Cuban dogs are small. My dog is this size. He's huge because he eats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I
was
also wanted to mention that.
I'm like,
I
I
think
eat meat every day.
yeah. There's a lot of Cubans that may still want to go to Cuba. They go year after year, and how can you do that? And maybe have a good time and say, "Oh, I'm visiting family, I'm helping," but the next year you go, they have one less tooth.
Me.
The next year you go,
You're
somebody
not
died of
helping the
alcoholism.
family. I know it hurts, and our families are back there. We are the only ones from our family here, and it hurts. But trust me, the moment you leave your house and leave them $100, $1,000,000 to your family in Cuba, you leave. They stay with the same misery that when you just arrived. You left. You come back to your capitalism. Oh, and enjoy your car.
No,
and
you have to
enjoy
work harder because then you spend all the money.
To raise money for the next year, because you come back with nothing from Cuba and your family is still poor. You didn't fix their problem. You fixed their hunger. Exactly.
on it.
No, it's also
For that month that you were in Cuba, then you leave. And
it's a phenomenal thing, but it's also one way to take care of that. You really need to go back because you have to understand and respect whoever had to do it for sentimental, because they can be. Just go to Cuba the same way you left. Go without money.
Yep, right.
I want to respect your time, lady.
Interesting.
I know you gave me 1 hour. It's 10:11 now. It's been an hour.
I have to go to the airport to pick up my grandma. That then I have to fight with the Canadians that are not allowing
I know. So
me.
I don't want to take your time.
Immediate family.
Quick
I
question.
thank you.
I'll let the ladies go. I thank you, Riquet, for introducing me to OKAN. Is that how you say it, OKAN?
Okay. Where do you live, my friend?
I got you right now here.
Yay, thank you.
And I couldn't help but you reminded me of someone I got in contact with recently, Daime Arocena.
Yeah, she's our best friend. She's here also in Toronto, and we work together. And yes.
Really?
Yes.
I was the one who put the comment. You should collaborate with her.
Oh, yeah,
it's coming. It's coming.
Listen, she comes here. We talk about Cuba for hours every time we are talking and whatever. And every time she leaves, we're like, do you see? We still talk for like 6 hours again every time, the same thing, and we haven't started working. Like we just worked into documentaries that she's producing with her husband. So we put the music to that together.
Yeah. Nice.
Like together, like a song.
It's
like
coming. It's coming.
But it's coming.
Well, I'm listening to Mercedes right now, which was with Telmari.
Yeah.
But when I heard Daime, and now when I'm listening to you, I felt extremely happy. And the reason why is because I see young people making real good Cuban music, fusion, more fusion than anything. Yes. After many years of suffering reggaeton, yes. I see that there is hope.
Hallelujah.
You guys
wait, hold on, Ángel, espérate, because I like reparto a little bit, okay?
No, I'm timbero.
You gotta shake that leg, bro.
I'm timbero. No, I'm all about Alexander Abreu, La Habana de Primera, and all NG La Banda. That was music. The lyrics sometimes, but the music was there. The academic preparation of those musicians, they were all jazz players. Averov, Carlos Oviedo, everybody. Anyways, but wait, now I see a new generation that is really.
I got a bone to pick with you, Angel, because, and maybe the ladies could back me up before they leave. I came out of Cuba in the 90s, in 98, and all through my childhood, all I heard was bam bam, básicamente, that type of music. Like, and then I meet all the Latin people, and they talk about rock, Enanitos Verdes, like Fabulosos Cadillacs, like all these, like whole world of music. And I don't know, was that by design by the government or Cubans just don't like that stuff?
Yes,
soy
it was designed by-
conguero, no soy
They
rockero.
weren't
Like, what's
al-
going
They
on?
weren't allowed to hear them. That
Let me
was
tell you something. Let me tell you something. En la banda, Jose Luis Cortez, they would go to Europe and they would play in a club, timba, right? Cuban music. But the next day, the band would be divided in 3 different bands and they would play in jazz cafes to a sold out house. We're not talking about wannabe musicians. These are real musicians. The thing is that what sells in the world and in the Cuban radio stations is timba. Same with charanga banera. Charanga was known in Switzerland and in Europe before they went back to Cuba in '92. They were known all over Europe before they went to Cuba. These are real musicians, but that's beyond the point. The point is that I
Okay.
see a new generation of Cubans
yes.
redefining Cuba for its musical value. And it's not the little bikini and image from the 50s. It's good music with good, amazing vocal words. These girls, they know what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
And then they get the Afro-Cuban roots, which is so rich,
Yes.
so rich with the orichas and the patakins and all that. And they fusion it with jazz and world rhythms, like Rique was saying, and it's analgesic for my ears after a churro and chocolate.
I fell in love with
Hey, come on. Don't mess with the king/president of the Republic, bro. Come on.
Girls, be ready. In January, the Cuban Canadian want to make something. We are being content, and we have something on the agenda.
Yes.
Wonderful.
We don't know the day, but we have something.
We also, friend, what's your name?
Angel.
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 Okay.
Okay.
Ángel.
Ángel. I mean, estoy en el crossover brain, I'm sorry.
Angel, pero okay. So, mira,
Angelito.
mira, it's actually very nice to hear this from you because sometimes we also give up. Like when we hear what people are listening to, we're like, really, should we also keep doing music? We're making music because honestly,
We should go commercial.
Should we just go commercial and just like?
No, don't go pop.
Don't do that.
Do not do that.
You keep doing what you're doing because it, like I said, I just fell in love with your fusion. I fell in love with what you're doing. I love jazz. I'm a jazz fanatic. Like when I was in my 20s, I'm one of these old ladies. Even when I was young, like when I was in my 20s, I used to listen to the 50s, and when I was in my 30s, I've been listening to jazz since I could remember, and I would go to all these jazz clubs, and this fusion that you guys have is just the persecution and the violin. My God, no, please keep doing what you're doing.
And I
know.
Let me know if you can come to Atlanta, and I'll get you a place to play.
Okay.
The perfect spot.
We love Atlanta.
If you ever come to America, I will find you clubs.
We were there
my
year.
dear friend, we hope to go to America because that's where we make the money. So thank you very much.
Well,
those Canadian
Or
taxes.
I'm gonna find you guys. I'm gonna put you in a good project.
I'm
going to Montreal and Quebec City.
I'm one of those.
Okay.
We have plenty of contacts here in Charleston. We have plenty of jazz clubs. We have an actual we have a
Do you know William Kidd?
In Toronto.
No.
He's a guy named William Kidd, like Alicia Kidd. He's a Cuban musician. Amazing. I sent you.
Oh, that's the guy in Russia.
In Russia, he's in Russia. I sent him one song. I'm his manager.
Okay.
All right.
I'm moving around.
Important people here.
All right.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm gonna find you.
I don't manage anybody. I just know a lot of people, and I put a lot of people in contact. I do the logistics.
She's pretty good. She's pretty good doing that. No, I'm honestly, it was an accident. That filmmaker that I tried to introduce you is the one that is doing all their jobs. And of course, then Russia has situation to come to the United States, all the things. So I had a little, I don't know how to describe it, but I do that. I do that with painters, writers.
Okay.
As long as Cuba and
I review all of our social media.
Yes.
I'm the one that sees the emails.
Messages.
Also our manager, but I see the emails.
I'm a social media idiot. I'm too old for the social